Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Stephen O, and yes, we're back with another Batman 66 episode review. Today, we'll be reviewing the episode Marsha, Queen of Diamonds, which is the first debut of Marsha, the Queen of Diamonds. So without further ado, let's get into the review. We'll begin our episode with 4 policemen standing outside essentially a diamond store named U Magnum Diamonds, in which they're told to be on the lookout for Marsha, the Queen of Diamonds, for a possible attack. A motor car approaches the officers where Chief O'Hara steps out of a silver Rolls Royce, along with Marsha, stunning the officers. O'Hara and Marsha enter the jewelry store and end up taking the pretzel diamond from the jewelers inside the store, while O'Hara is pretty much confessing his love to Marsha, the Queen of Diamonds. So automatically we're introduced to a villain that everyone knows except us, which has been a long time since we've done that actually. This then results in the officers who are puzzled by it to end up call Commissioner Gordon, and Commissioner Gordon ends up calling Batman. We then cut into Batman and Robin in the Batcave with Alfred, who are testing out a gigantic new Bat Diamond in the Batcave. When they get the call from Commissioner Gordon about the burglary, along with O'Hara's alleged involvement, which they are shocked because they've known O'Hara for years, and it turns out and especially they find out when Marsha was involved. We then do the opening credits, you name it, we've been through this cycle before. We then cut back to essentially O'Hara in Marsha's hideout, where she is in a birdcage, still under her magic spell, along with other victims. Now, it turns out that Marsha wants to essentially is a diamond collector, and the next diamond on her list is the Bat Diamond. She then uses this statue of Cupid, which fires mini arrows, which are laced with essentially a spell to put men under her control. Essentially a love potion within these sort of darts. Now Marsha uses this to get Commissioner Gordon under her spell, and uses him to somehow lure Batman and Robin to her hideout. We then get the scene where she goes into her Aunt Hilda's sensual sanctuary, where it's revealed that Aunt Hilda makes all the potions Marsha uses and plans to use one to get Batman under a spell. I also like how we get this little Aunt Hilda's backstory. She used to be a professor at a prestigious college, until sadly one of her experiments was done in the cafeteria and resulted in the entire student body being turned orange for a week, resulting in her being fired. Now, automatically we're set up for Batman and Robin to go up against Marsha. Now, Batman and Robin do track Marsha down to her hideout and visit her, and she uses these poison darts on Batman, Batman, using every ounce of willpower, resists Marsha's spell, and infuriated that a man would reject her, Marsha sends her goons and a bat fight breaks out. During the fight, Marsha uses one of the darts to fire at Robin and puts Robin under a spell. Batman then surrenders because he can't face himself to fight Robin. Robin is then taken away to be essentially put in the same birdcage that Chief O'Hara and Commissioner Gordon's at. Marsha makes her demands, wanting to get the Bat Diamond. But Batman has made a vow that he would never allow to bring anyone else into the Batcave. I find this weird, as he's done this on many occasions, not even for Robin's life. As a result, she has to find a way to not break this vow. So then she decides that Batman and her could be married, thus allowing her to enter the Batcave, and this would allow her to get the Bat Diamond, and her Batman's secret identity will be revealed in the process. However, if Batman refuses marriage, Robin, Commissioner Gordon, and Chief O'Hara will be in her captivity forever, and thus, in order to save them, Batman has no choice but to marry Marsha, especially to save Robin. This marriage is then on live TV, and everyone is shocked, including Alfred and Aunt Harriet, who watch it, and realizing that he would not do this under his free will, and have to come up with a plan to get him out of this wedding. We then end the episode with Marsha and Batman essentially at the ceremony. Now Marsha's already said I do, but Batman is still holding out whether to say it. And essentially this is where we end our cliffhanger, which is a very poor one. Essentially just a wedding, and what's Batman to say I do, or if he objects, Robin is remain in captivity. I find this very odd, a very odd ending, and it doesn't really fit right with me, but that's where we end our episode. Our main characters here are pretty fun, and even though I'm not really a huge fan of this episode, I can't really say that we are not getting much to do with them. First off, with Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara essentially under the Marsha's spell, I kind of find we get a lot of funny moments with them fighting for her affections. It's really fun and entertaining, and I really like how that at least they have a bit of a role in the story, even though it's not that much. We don't get to see Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson that much in this episode, and I don't think at all, which is very different, and I admit I noticed that on the first run. I also like how Batman and Robin, how they are also really getting more involved in the story with the whole love potion that Robin is under, which is really interesting, and Batman having to overcome the love potion, and of course being involved in this, being essentially forced to marry Marsha herself. And also, like the end of the episode, we find out that Aunt Harriet and Alfred are concocting a little scheme to get Batman out of this situation, knowing something's wrong, and I love that they were going to go with that direction, and I can't wait to find out, how this helps Batman get out of the situation. But of course, we need to discuss the main villain. Marsha, Queen of Diamonds, was played by Carolyn Jones, who was, of course, not a small deal at the time. She was a well-renowned and famous TV actress during the 60s. And post-Batman, she would later go on to do many great and interesting roles. However, before she did this, she was on a very hit TV show at the time that you may know as The Addams Family, which she played the character Morticia Addams, which was arguably her biggest breakthrough role, and the television show only lasted 2 seasons. However, it should be noted that other essentially actor and characters from the Addams Family did pop up in Batman 66 during the season. Now, with that out of the way, and a huge respect for Carolyn Jones as an actress, how do I personally feel about Marsha, the Queen of Diamonds? Bland. Honestly, bland. In same way of with Clock King, I find the character different and somewhat interesting, but something's holding it back to be rather bland. First off, what do I like about her? Well, she has a different motivation than others. Kind of like the Mad Hatter, she's obsessed with an object. And since she is a female, diamonds, which of course you hear the saying, diamonds are a girl's best friend, and honestly really do admit she does at least pull off this character. The word darling being said a lot. Her obsession with diamonds, and especially getting her hands on the Bat Diamond, is pretty interesting too. With an interesting motivation, and also having different, weapons in her arsenal than other villains at the time, such as bending men to her will, kind of gives you a Poison Ivy vibe. However, the thing I just not really a huge fan of is I find her too bland, too average at best. And however, she is one of the most beloved villains on the show, as this two-parter will not be the last time we will see her. She'll come back in a villain team-up episode. Other than that, I do kind of find her rather bland and okay, and this is nothing against the actress. And I understand that some people have a fan base with her, but I just wasn't personally a fan of this character. I didn't mind her, but I can't say, at least in this two-parter, but I can't say that she was overall that interesting. However, Hilda is a completely different case, since Carolyn Jones was pretty much huge on the series at the time, and on the show at the time, and pretty much her role in the Addams Family pretty much made her synonymous, even though she had done huge movie works in the 50s. The Aunt Hilda character is pretty much an homage to the Addams Family. In fact, throughout this episode, there's a lot of hints and homages to the Addams Family. She's essential, and I also like a character as it explains to how Marsha could, make all these potions and that to, for these, things to not just have people bend to her will, but as we find out in the next episode, she has, could turn people into creatures. She's essentially a woman who thinks she's a witch, or likes to play that she's a witch, and she's an alchemist in reality. I really loved her character, and I found that she, teaming up with, paired with her, Marsha, to be really fun and really memorable to pairing together, and I'm kind of more drawn to the Hilda character than I am to the Marsha character. Marsha Queen of Diamonds episode is rather okay. And honestly, it does feel kind of weird that we have this episode following the Joker, but after the Joker, it makes sense for us to go with a new villain. And and this villain is a mixed bag for me. The plot is also rather different, but also at the same time rather bland in comparison. It's okay, but it's not that all perfect. I kind of really am not a huge fan of this episode. Who knows? We'll find out if part 2 can even pick it up. And there we have it. That was Marsha Queen of Diamonds. A very okay and average episode with an okay to average villain. Join us in the part 2 where we can find out if, who knows, this might fix up the problems that I'm starting to feel in this two-parter and with this new villain. So tune in next time for the same Steven hour, the same Steven channel, ladies and gentlemen. So long for now.